Now we're up to one of only 2 pop music critics that we know of who became pop stars. It's often been said that a critic is a frustrated performer. Now, if that's true, 2 former critics took their frustrations right into the top 10. One is a former writer for the English music magazine Smash Hits. He was doing that job in the early 1980s, and then he became a Pet Shop Boy. He's Neil Tennant. The other former pop critic turned pop star is an American woman from Akron, Ohio, and she also wrote for an English music publication. In the early 70s, she'd left Ohio for England. That was the home of her favorite rock and roll bands, and she wanted to become a singer. Once she hit London, she stepped right into the social swing of the music scene. And one night at a party, she was loudly expressing her opinion about music that she liked and about music that she disliked. She was overheard by a writer from the popular London music paper, The New Musical Express, and he was impressed enough to introduce the brash, opinionated young woman to one of his editors. Well, the editor said to her, "Put your typewriter where your mouth is." And the career of Chrissie Hynde as a pop music critic was off and running. She wrote for the New Musical Express for about a year and became known for her witty and often caustic reviews. Well, a lot of that sharp-witted style turned up in her songwriting as well, when just a few years later, Chrissie Hynde formed her own rock and roll band, The Pretenders. This week, former rock critic Chrissie Hynde and The Pretenders are in our countdown with their 5th Top 40 hit. At number 16, here's Don't Get Me Wrong. Don't get me wrong. If I come and go like fashion, I might be great tomorrow, but hopeless yesterday. Chrissie Hynde and The Pretenders on AT40, up 3 notches to number 16 as the countdown rocks on.
American Top 40.
These are the hottest hits in the USA.
Number 14.
Now, we're up to the British-American band who were once considered to be on the punk rock side, but their lead singer says things are different now. Quote, "I'm 35 and I can't keep pretending I have my head in a garbage can. Punk music is 10 years old. I don't think the term punk describes anything on a new album." That's what Chrissie Hynde has to say about the Pretenders' sound in '87. Here's their hit, Don't Get Me Wrong. Don't Get Me Wrong. It comes from the album called Get Close. It's the 5th Top 40 hit for the band, The Pretenders. This is American Top 40's weekly survey of the most popular songs in the USA. I'm Charlie Van Dyke, sitting in for Casey Kasem.
American Top 40.
This is Casey on AT40 in Hollywood, and now we're up to the first chart single by a woman who left home vowing she wouldn't return until she made it. It was back in 1973 that 20-year-old Chrissie Hynde told her parents that she was leaving her hometown of Akron, Ohio for England, where she intended to become a successful musician, and she wouldn't come home until she made it. Her parents, Melville and Dolores Hynde, tried to change Chrissie's mind, but she was a stubborn girl. And for 7 long years, she lived in London, working at her career. She sang with a lot of bands, both in England and France, and even took a job as a music writer for London's New Musical Express in the hope of meeting working musicians. Finally, after a lot of frustration and bad breaks, Chrissie became part of a new group called The Pretenders, and things began to happen. The Pretenders became one of the most popular club bands in London, which led to a recording contract with Warner Brothers Records, and soon after, a #1 record in England. And so, 7 years after their daughter, Chrissie, left home, Mr. and Mrs. Hynde found themselves sitting in Cleveland's Agora Auditorium. They were there to watch their daughter make good on that promise of hers to come home a star. With her first chart single in America, here's Akron, Ohio's Chrissie Hynde and The Pretenders at number 14 with Brass in Pocket.
Got brass.
At number 14 in the countdown again this week, that's Chrissie Hynde with The Pretenders and Brass in Pocket.
Casey's Coast to Coast.